name's Bradley Davis. My interests are in cars, especially old school cars. It all started when I was probably about 13 or 14, watching my dad work on cars when he was young, because he couldn't really afford to go to a mechanic, so he used to do all his stuff himself. So I used to sit there and watch. And as my brother got older, my oldest brother, when he got his license and his first car, I decided to watch him, because I wasn't very good at reading and writing. So I thought, I'll watch him do what they do. So I started watching him work on cars. First car I restored was an old HR Special. It was my oldest brother's car. He brought it and lost interest in it. So I said I'll buy it off him, which I did for I think about $200 to $300. And it was a bit of a rust bucket, but my dad and myself, we spent and bonded over the car over 12 months of restoring it. I didn't have much money back then because I was only 17, and my first job I was only earning $125 a week. So it never stretched that far, but I got second-hand parts and put it in there and did it up the best I could. Yeah. Vintage car since this special. I restored a HK Ute. Took me 12 months to restore that, and I absolutely stripped it down to just an absolute bare shell. And I spent every weekend for 12 months actually working on the car. Restored the HR Permier, which I have got now, the green, jade metallic green. That one there's got a real hottie 6-cylinder in it. It's got the best of everything that you can possibly buy for it. And interior is the first car was the second car, sorry, I actually put brand spanking new interior into because we could afford it, which was a bonus. I had two Toranas. I had a black one and a red one. The black one, I brought it finished from the young fella because back then I couldn't, because I had to drive the car every day, I couldn't really do it up really good. So I drove that one around, and then a friend of mine was selling a red one with a big massive V8 in it. So I've talked the wife into selling the 6-cylinder one so we could afford to buy the V8 one. And I brought the V8 one, and it was the quickest car I've ever owned. 308 stroker in it. And it used to be back in the days, back 20 years ago, it was doing 13s down a quarter mile, and it was pretty quick back in those days, 13s. When I used to work on the cars, before we bought our house, I used to just do it in the front yard, on my back on the ground, in the dirt, working on the car. And you know, when you got to drive the car to work on Mondays, you sort of can't do it up as good. But when we got our house here, I've been restoring the cars now, the last two. Well, 3 now with the HG. Well, 4 actually, got the Camaro as well. I forgot about the Camaro. Yeah, I've done it in a double lock-up garage in the house. I've got all my tools in it here beside me. And yeah, I just restored the cars in the house now. My most favourite car I restored was a HR Permier, my latest one. It took me 3.5 years to restore that one. It's got a lot of work done to it. A lot of blood, sweat and tears went into that one. But the best thing about that one, I could afford to buy everything I really wanted to put in it. Especially the engine. There's that much work done to the engine. It is a very, very hotty 6-cylinder. It's got all the good gear in it. I mean all the good stuff like triple SUs, biggest bopping head that you can get, cam, solid crank and all that sort of stuff, yeah. And the body work, yeah. The most challenges in restoring the car is, I have to admit, the body work, because if you don't do it right, when you do the final paint, you can see every little blemish. If you don't do it right, you see the blemish in the paint. Yeah, like a little dent, you'll see it in the finished product. If you didn't sand a part of the car properly, you'll see the little sand mark that you didn't do properly. So yeah, I have to say the body work's the hardest. The skills needed to restore an old car is you've got to be hands-on, and you've got to remember how you pulled things apart. When you strip down the engine, you've got to remember which part goes back into a certain spot, and if you pull a steering column or something apart, you've got to know where you put all the wiring and little clips and all that sort of stuff in. Yeah. Yes, restoring, yeah, there is a lot of satisfaction in it, because when you go to car shows, you get to show the car to hundreds and hundreds of people, and a lot of people say, oh yeah, my dad used to own one of them when I was a kid, and yeah, oh, but yours looks heaps better than his, and yeah, stuff like that. And you get a real, smile on your face, because you're reminiscing with people's pasts and your own past of when you used to own cars like this when you were young. Well, when you go to the car clubs, they talk about events that are coming up and shows, and that's the stuff I like, going to shows and telling them about my vehicles. Yeah, especially the wife, she really loves it, because she gets more enjoyment out of it than I actually do. Yeah, when we go to car shows, you can't get her away because she's too busy talking about it, and you want her to go and have a look at cars yourself, but she's too busy, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but no, it's good fun. Enjoy it, love it. Tell me more, tell me more. Put up a fight.